Under the shadow of the drone is a one-to-one outline of a military unmanned aircraft, a drone, in this case a Reaper drone, which is an armed drone which is currently in service with the American and British Air Forces all around the world. We've drawn it on the Brighton seafront here as part of the Brighton Festival, as part of an ongoing project I'm involved in, visualising and trying to understand military drones and some of the technology behind them. I've been interested in drones for some time, not just as weapons of war, which in this case, in the case of the Reaper, they very much are, but also as prosthetics of the network, as kind of extensions of so much of our technology. Technology now is something that surrounds all of us. Almost all of our technologies have become networked. But they're largely invisible to us. We don't see them, and therefore it's quite hard for us to truly understand them. We don't form useful mental models of them. So one of the regular exercises I do is to try and work out how to visualize these things by sketching them out. In this case, a very literal representation of a largely invisible technology. So many of our technologies are so invisible, and we lack full understanding of what they do and how they affect our lives, which means none of us really are capable of using them to their capacity or understand how they might be used against us. By making them visible, we start to understand a little more about how these technologies work, and therefore we have a greater agency in the world. We understand how to use those technologies for our own benefits, and we start to understand some of the moral implications of how they might be used, and therefore we can have a rational, genuine discussion with governments and different forms of power about how we think these things should be used. There are definite parallels now between the way people are looking at drone technologies and the way they looked at nuclear technologies. The drone on its own is just a radio-controlled plane, essentially. We've added missiles to it, that kind of adds a sense of dread, but it's not really about the drone itself that should be of concern to us. It's the way in which the drone permits certain kinds of warfare. The drone is essentially a weapon to target militants within civilian populations, and therefore it brings with it a whole bunch of extra questions about collateral damage. It allows a huge number of current intelligence gathering techniques to be hidden behind a veil of technology. What's important here isn't really the technology itself, which appears in all kinds of different ways in the world, but the way in which technology can be used to obscure deeper and perhaps morally questionable attitudes. Drones have a huge amount of applications, and they're wonderful tools for filmmaking and all kinds of things, but as soon as a camera is attached to something which can fly above you, for example, the surveillance potential is obvious. As soon as a viewpoint is established which we can't connect directly to, there's a power relationship there, and an unfair one. So while drones permeate throughout society and can be used in many, many different types of ways, they're also regularly used to increase inequalities of power between people, and it's those kind of relationships that we just need to be critical of and to try to think very hard about as the drones inevitably become part of wider society.